lot of monsters for this particular opening hand, so definitely going to be quite interesting, but we could still actually make a few plays of our own as well. So we start off with the Unizombie. Unizombie actually already has the Mizuki, which is definitely quite nice, but we're going to send off Mizuki, gaining a level. Then from the deck we're going to send off our Gozuki, and that will pretty much give us another level, so level 5 now. Mizuki's effect, banish him, special summon out Gozuki. Gozuki's effect, from the field, you could send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. So you want to think, what do you actually want to send? Well, you have Retainer as an option, or you have Familiar as an option as well. And in this case, I'm thinking, well, we don't actually have anything particular, but I was actually thinking, let's go for Familiar. No, actually no, Retainer to add a spell or trap. So we're going to send that to the grave. And with Retainer, we could then special summon it out by sending Sorcerer from our hand to the graveyard. So in this particular case, everything is looking quite nice. Of course, we've already done our summon, but Retainer's effect will allow us to then add. So I'm actually going to add Domain instead of our Domination. And oh, actually no, maybe not, because I was actually thinking I would activate Domain as an option and then banish off Sorcerer and then summon out the Vamp for free, but that's not really going to do you any good, given that, no, actually this is going to do you good. This is turn 2, of course that's going to do you good. So we're going to go for the Domain, and basically from this particular point we're going to activate Domain, allowing us our second normal summon. We're going to banish off the Sorcerer, and this will allow us our extra summon. So we're going to go for the Vamp now and normal summon it. So when Vamp is when Vamp is actually summoned out, you pretty much just get to target one of your opponent's monsters and steal their monsters, assuming their attack is higher than your attack, which is 2000. It's not that big a deal. So at that particular point, you stole an opponent's monsters, and you also have this on the field as well. So the question is, what can you do? I was also thinking that since you're actually going second, the Ash will definitely disrupt the opponent already, which is definitely quite nice. So it's a matter of what we could actually do with this particular hand. You have to consider your different options, and we have Desire. We could actually activate Desire, targeting, I don't know, in this case we'll actually target our Gozuki, and what we could do is we could actually just send to the graveyard a Familiar this time. So by sending off Familiar, we could turn the Gozuki into a 1. We have Gozuki, we have Retainer, and we have the Unizombie now, and together they pretty much allow us to go for a level 8, because you have 1, 2, and 5 again, and this gets banished of course, but pretty much what we could go for is, again, another Void Ogre. Absolutely amazing of course, because well, it's just really great, yeah. But yeah, you pretty much now have a Vamp and an Ogre, boosted up Vamp as well, keep that in mind. And if things don't go well for you, you also have a Negate, keep in mind that as well. And we could easily just bring back the Familiar if we need to. It's just a matter of us kind of preparing for the next turn, but you still are going to be dealing quite a bit of damage. Depending on what you actually stole, this card will definitely be quite strong. It's definitely going to be well above, well actually, whatever it steals and equips onto, this has to be 4,000 points or higher. So you're dealing 4,000 plus the 3,000, that's at least 7,000 points of damage. But if you stole anything higher than 2,000 from your opponent, then you might have even more, and you might have enough a game from there. But of course, we're pretty much trying to prepare and make sure that we're always prepared for the next turn, which is why having Gozuki again, having the Familiar in the grave, it kind of just sets you up for future turns. Alright, so in this particular situation, definitely very interesting. We pretty much have at least one disruption, so let's assume that we disrupted our opponent. That's definitely really amazing. We also have Book of Life, which, keep in mind, since we're in turn 2, it's going to be active. In this particular era, links are just the dominant thing. If your opponent doesn't have any monsters in their grave, either they bricked or they actually know exactly what you're playing and they're just purposely playing it so that you not have an active Book of Life. But that's obviously pretty far-fetched, and in this case we can actually assume that the Book of Life is a very active card in this situation, so that makes it all the more better. So we have Uni Zombie over here. We're going to actually send off the Familiar to the graveyard, and then we're also going to send off our Gozuki as well. Actually, should we send off Gozuki? Yes, we should. We'll send off Gozuki wherever it is. Where is Gozuki? Over there. And now that we actually sent off Gozuki, we can actually just activate the Book of Life. And basically what Book of Life is meant to do for us is it will special summon back out the Gozuki and then banish off one of our opponent's monsters in their grave. Gozuki's effect will now allow us to obviously summon out, or send to the graveyard a Mizuki. So Mizuki is now in the grave. We also have Familiar's effect as well. This will allow us to obviously send our Fraulein to the grave. From that, we could actually just special summon our Familiar, allowing us to add a vampire monster from our deck to the hand. Easily, we're going to add Scourge. So Scourge is over here. And after bringing out Scourge, we can now use Mizuki's effect. Banish it, allowing us to special summon back out the Fraulein. And now you have this really nice board over here. Definitely amazing, of course, but we are kind of restricted in the sense that Ultimate Zolkin won't do us any good, given that we don't actually have anything to work with in this particular situation. But you know what, that's okay. We could actually still figure something out. So let's see here, we have that. Actually, you know what, instead of going for Fraulein, by banishing Mizuki, we could actually just summon out the Ash from the graveyard. So what we have here is we have a 3, a 1, and a 4, and this will pretty much allow us to synchro for an 8. So Familiar is the only one that will actually get banished, and these two will go to the graveyard, and that will allow us to obviously go for a Void Ogre. Well, in this particular situation, you do have cards in the hand, so you might not want to go for a Void Ogre. You could go for the... Hold on. You could go for Beals, you could also go for the Omega. No, you can't go for Beals. You could go for Omega, or you could go for Savage Dragon. In this case, Omega is the only option we could actually go for. And with Omega now out on the board, you could get rid of a card from your opponent's hand, that's fine. But you have Gozuki's effect, so you could actually banish off the Ash. And then special summon, well, not special summon, but Gozuki's effect will summon out Scarlet Scourge. Scarlet Scourge uses its effect on summon to pay 1,000 and target a vampire. We're going to bring back our Fraulein, and 600, it's fine. You could also just put it in defense as well. And you have quite a bit of a decent board over here, you know. But in this situation, you have quite a bit of damage you could actually deal. If you actually add up all these life points, you actually have 13, 28, 22, and 600, plus her 3000 boost effect as well. So total, that would be 9900 attack points onto your damage, onto your opponent, which would actually be quite an amount to obviously OTK. However, the Fraulein effect is only applicable when you're actually fighting against one of your opponent's monsters. So as long as your opponent's monsters is 1900 or below, that is technically an OTK as an overall. However, with that being said, it's very unlikely that it will be an OTK, so you might have to go for Fraulein in defense instead. Deal all the damage you can, main phase 2, get rid of a card in your opponent's hand, and you still have this really nice board to go with as well, but you also still have the extra Ash in the hand to negate or disrupt our opponent's next turn. On the following turn, on your turn, you also have the active Gozuki as well ready to go. So whatever the situation comes, again, you have future plays available for you, but as you're opening starting here, it's definitely still just really amazing. Alright, so over here, final test hand. Nice opening actually. I very like this particular opening hand over here. We have our Ash, so we could always just disrupt our opponents, and it's most likely that's going to happen in this particular day and age. Ash is just going to resolve regardless of what deck you're playing. I mean, it's really rare for an opponent to actually play a deck that doesn't search on their turn. And in this particular case, we have Unizombie, so we're going to go for the Unizombie. We could ditch quite a bit of options. We have Retainer, we have Fraulein, Scourge, we have Mizuki as well. This is just really amazing, but I'm actually thinking, you know what, I'm just gonna get rid of the Retainer in this particular situation. So I'll get rid of Retainer, boost its level up, and then I'll get rid of a Familiar as well, and get rid of that. So that makes it quite interesting. Maybe not Familiar, maybe we'll just ditch a Gozuki. Yeah, I think I'll ditch off Gozuki. So what I can do here is, we have over here Gozuki, so we're going to use its effect. We're going to banish off the Ash, and Gozuki allows us to special summon something else. In this case, I'm going to bring back the Mizuki. So that's quite nice here. Unizombie is a level 5, Mizuki is level 4. Retainer's effect could actually go off, and we're going to special summon out the Retainer again by sending off Fraulein to the graveyard. So with that happening, Retainer allows us to add a spell or trap from our deck to our hand. So in this case, I'm going to add our Domination. Definitely quite nice, of course. We could take Mizuki and we could take Retainer, link them away. Retainer will get banished, and Mizuki will go to the graveyard. And in this particular situation, this will allow us to go for a link. We could go for Avendred Slayer, or we could also go for Vampire Sucker. The Vampire Sucker will allow us to technically draw a card if we special summon a card from our opponent's graveyard to their field again. But I don't want to give them bonuses. You could go for Phoenix or Cerberus, but I don't want to get rid of the resources in our hand either. So what I think the best option is actually the Avendred's Savior. And that would be quite nice. You could also go for the Anaconda if you actually want to, but in this particular situation we don't actually need it. So what we could actually do here is, now firstly we could just set the Domination, that's no big deal, but we have Mizuki in the graveyard over here, so it makes you think what you want to do. Banish off the Mizuki, summon out the Gozuki. Gozuki's monster effect on the field allows us to send off another copy of the Mizuki. Mizuki will then banish itself again, special summon out the Fraulein. So now, as you can see, that's definitely quite powerful, isn't it? I mean, everything is just looking really great. This is all our banished cards, but hey, it's all good. What we could actually do here is we could go for... Well, actually, don't set the Domination. What am I thinking? Fraulein and Unizombie will obviously allow us to go for Ultimaya. After we go for Ultimaya, set our Domination. That was the whole purpose of it all. And Ultimaya activates its effect, allowing us to summon out our Crystal Wing, which is definitely quite nice. You could also go for some further extension if you want. So for example, you could take the Gozuki and you could take the Ultimaya Zoken and link them away, allowing you to actually go for your Verte Anaconda. Anaconda will obviously allow you to then search for your Super Poly. You could also just send it to the graveyard and use it as if it's the effect anyway, so it makes no difference, it just depends on what you want to do. But if you add it to the hand, you could actually just do it as a quick effect during the battle, which is definitely more of a powerful effect. So what you're going to do here is you pretty much have the Avendred Slayer. When you take on your opponent's monsters by battle, during damage calculation, as a quick effect, you could also send a zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard, and the opponent's monsters loses attack equal to the level of the sent monster. So with Savior, you could just potentially send off your highest level zombie monster. So in this case, you could send off an extra Scourge, you could send off a Baron, you could prepare by sending off Familiar as well, or even your Retainer. It's just up to you what options you want to send. You could even send off another copy of Mizuki as well, and then in main phase 2 you could then banish off the Mizuki and then summon back one of your zombie monsters that you actually need. That is extremely powerful, you know. So everything is obviously looking really good here, but keep in mind you already have a negate right here of the Crystal Wing. Avendred Slayer can send, so assuming we actually battle, we just send off any kind of random monster we want. But we have familiar and we have retainer. So now that we've actually used up, what did we use up? We used up the retainer before, was it? Yeah, we used up retainer before, so now we actually have the familiar to send to the graveyard, and that's obviously okay. And attack. It does its thing. Crystal Wing gets really strong anyway, and then as a follow-up we could actually just go for the Super Poly, activate it, sending off the Scarlet Scourge to the graveyard, fusing off whatever you actually need to, like the Slayer and the Anaconda, and this will pretty much allow you to, with these two dark monsters, and go for your Starving Venom as well. So it's most likely an OTK in that particular situation, but you also have to keep in mind that you could also just use your opponent's monsters as well, so you'll always have something out on the field. But hope you guys actually get an idea out of this particular test stand video. It's definitely just really fun. As you can see, this particular one, I'm really happy with how it ended, because we could definitely do quite a bit of things. But yeah, if you guys actually enjoyed this, then definitely drop a like, and also share this video for anyone who might be interested on how vampires would work. Particularly this last test hand, I was definitely really enjoying how I was actually able to pull off all these particular combos, and I'm sure that any of you guys, if you actually spend a bit of time thinking about it as well, you could totally do way better plays than what I just did as well. I'm doing this all in the moment, so yeah, it's definitely really fun. It's really amazing. When it goes off, it's just really crazy. However, with that being said, I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you next time.